Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Lu. There is a very big story that has broken out in China news that every Chinese, Singaporean, and Malaysian better hear this news, especially those who like to go to Thailand for holidays. And let this be a warning why you should not go to Thailand for holidays for now. Let's watch on, shall we? So this is the biggest news that happening in China for the last 1 week. There is a Chinese actor, his name is Wang Xing. This is handsome looking gentleman. He went missing for a business trip to Thailand, and I will describe the story in detail, but basically he was then kidnapped and sent to work in those scam cities. And after that, he was rescued, and his story was one big blow up. And right now, it's all over the news, and there's a lot of warning that should be given to us by his plight. In order to understand his story, we first need to understand what is the context that we're talking about. First of all, at the Myanmar-Thailand border, there are many scam operations that are now going on. And I'm sure by now you have received a lot of scam calls, and most of them are Chinese speaking. So the minute you say, can you speak English? They all hang up. That's because most of the scammers are Chinese. At this juncture, there is an estimated number of 300,000 Chinese that are being kidnapped and forced to become scammers in Myanmar, in this huge city. I would call it the industrial park, just right at the border of Myanmar and Thailand. For those who don't know, not only did Chinese get kidnapped and forced to work in these scam cities, there are also many Malaysian Chinese that fall victims to this syndicate and forced to work in these scam cities as well. So who control this scam industrial park? Well, the interesting thing is that they are not run by the Myanmars. They are run by evil Chinese businessmen. And these Chinese businessmen actually were originally from China. They relocated to Myanmar and set up this huge operation, like big, huge operation. And later I'll show you how big those operation is. Big, huge operation of call centers. And these call centers, each of them will seat a scammer. We are talking about 300,000 people call centers. And most of these 300,000 scammers were all being kidnapped and forced into this job. These places that they operate in are not controlled by the Myanmar government. They are controlled by the rebel armies of Myanmar. And in Myanmar right now, there are many different factions of rebel army. And if you read the Chinese news, this was almost like in the 1920s to 1930s in China, where different parts of China are controlled by different warlords. It's almost the same right now. So how did these Chinese, 300,000 over them, end up in Myanmar? Well, most of them were being scammed by promise of good jobs to work in Thailand. And they were tricked into flying into Bangkok. And at Bangkok airport, they'll be received by someone that says that we'll drive you there. And they drove right into Myanmar. And guess what? After that, they were being locked up, and forced into this labor. This is a real serious scale of operation right now. These kidnapped victims, they were forced to work as scammers. If they don't, they'll be beaten, tortured, and forced to work. And if not, they will face a very, very extreme circumstances. After they're forced to work, they'll be trained and conduct different types of scams. There'll be love scams, investment scams, money scams. I don't know what kind of scams, and they keep innovating the type of scams. The kidnappers are being paid 60,000 yuan, which is divided by 5, is about 12,000 Sing dollars, or 12 to 11,000 Sing dollars for each of these kidnapped victims. So if the kidnappers can bring one of these call center operators or call center scammers into Myanmar, the syndicate that runs these scam industrial parks will pay the kidnappers 60,000 yuan for each of these kidnapped victims. These victims now become scammer themselves, have KPI to hit. And if they don't meet those KPI and don't know what these KPI is, I would imagine that the KPI could be number of calls, number of dollars being scammed, and so on. If they are not able to meet these KPIs, they'll be beaten, tortured, and eventually get killed as well. Many of these scammers have escaped, and there are many of these survivor stories, and there are lots of them. So footages smuggled out of scam gangs shows electrocution, beatings and people handcuffed, blindfolded, and forced to sleep in a pile. So in these places, they are literally become slaves. Their heads are being shaven, forced to undergo training, how to scam people on the phone. And he claims that at a scam city, he could not eat much food and doesn't have time to use the toilet. How big are these scam cities? Well, at this place called KK Park, which is at the border of Myanmar and Thailand. And this, you can see, this is the river that separates the two countries. This city is about 150 football fields big. And I think the biggest one is called KK Park. I don't know what KK Park means or represents, but there's 150 football fields. And these buildings here are huge buildings. They're like universities, college kind of size. They are very, very big, and house a lot of people. 300,000 scammers are housed here. China has always been trying to go all out to wipe out these syndicates they are scamming. And previously, the syndicates operated at the border between China and Myanmar. In the northern part of Myanmar, they call it Mianbei. Mianbei is Miandian, 北方, Mianbei. And they could easily, infiltrate in and out of China easily and get a lot of the victims, scammers, and laborers, so-called, for their call centers. And at that point of time, northern Myanmar was occupied and operated by 4 major families, and they're all Chinese. And they have got controls with the local police, local military have support them, and they run their own military operation as well. The story was that they just really got out of hand. The Chinese government decided to send some undercovers inside to figure out what their operation is. In one of the operation, the undercover agents tried to rescue a lorry or busload of victims out of northern Myanmar, and they were being discovered while he identified himself as a Kong An, which is a police. One of the major families decided to execute the undercover police by burying him alive. So this really crossed the line with the Chinese government, and they sent a whole army assault down into northern Myanmar and wipe out the entire city. The 4 families were being wiped out. It was quite a big operation. I followed this story very closely, and the entire operation has collapsed. But you know what? I don't know, is it part of these 4 families, or now new remnants have escaped now to the Myanmar-Thailand border? So imagine this, Myanmar, this side of it is closer to China. They have escaped from this side, now go to the Thailand border and continue the operation, and they set up really fast. Now they are very far from China, and China has very limited reach to go that far unless they want to go deep into Myanmar to begin their assault. Now the question is, how did 300,000 Chinese fall prey? For a very simple reason. There is no jobs in China for many of them. The economy is really, really very bad. The youth unemployment has hit a high of 20%, and the actual numbers could be as high as 30-40%. So many people desperate for a job. What do? They are being promised now jobs in Thailand, and they take the risk and they go. And interestingly, some of these syndicates are very smart. They actually bought over full-fledged companies in China that has history of 5, 10, 20 years, and they operate them and set up operation and attract jobs like normal operation. After the staff had worked there for 3 to 6 months, they organize a company trip for all the employees in one airplane load of Chinese staff. They send them all to Thailand. Thailand put them up the bus and send them into Myanmar, and they all get locked up. And that's how this operation go. Very, very huge, ridiculous size operation. So in the beginning of the video, I talk about the story of Wang Xing. Now, Wang Xing is not a top-tier Chinese actor. There are many of them, but he's not top-tier. He's probably grade 3 or 4 kind of actor. But he's got some popularity, and he was basically jobless for a long time, no shows to act, and his salary is very low. And he was being offered in a chat group, probably a WeChat group, that there is a job now opening, and invited him to do a show in Thailand. Now, he has at least the sense to know that there is possibility of a scam. So he was very suspicious, but out of desperation, no rise, no income, he still went ahead. So people know of this risk, but no choice, being forced by circumstances. So what he did was that he wisely shared his GPS with his girlfriend every step of the way when he landed into Thailand, and keep the girlfriend informed of the location. And when he suddenly, the GPS, went into Myanmar and just disappeared, the girlfriend went hysterical and quickly used social media and contact the embassy, police, and then raise a ruckus and cause a public outcry. And the case was just very prominent in China and spill over to Thailand. And the Thai police have no choice but to intervene. And in an amazing demonstration of Thai police efficiency, which rarely happened because there are 300,000 Chinese that didn't have this privilege, the Thai police managed to rescue him in 24 hours. So take note, Wang Xing went with his hair full and came out with hair all shaven. So he was already in 24 hours into training ready. Now, before you say this thing only happened to China Chinese, no. Malaysian Chinese have also been pulled into this. There was a press conference that is held by the International Humanity Organization in Malaysia. Families of 3 victims have held the conference, claimed that their children has traveled into Thailand last month, kidnapped and trafficked by a human trafficking syndicate after being stolen from a van. They were being brought into a Myanmar fraud park. I'll call it scam park. One of the victims called his father and said that he was told that the airport was closed due to a fire outbreak and had to take a car to Chiang Mai. Another 22-year-old male victim had his phone and passport confiscated at the airport, then escorted in a car and abducted to a park and to be in prison. So it has spread over to Malaysia Chinese as well. Victims claim that they were starved to 2 to 3 days, given electrical shocks. One of the victims was a 22-year-old female victim, and she was influenced by friends who claimed that he could make 10,000 ringgit by going to Thailand to help open a bank account. The 3 victims were detained in different parts of the scam city in Myanmar, and the kidnappers would ransom between 10,000 to 40,000 USD to release it. Right now, there are all over social media, there are police that go around telling everybody, please try to rescue yourself before it's too late. If you are being caught as a 猪仔, piglet, this scam victim is called piglet, make sure that, these officials look prim and proper. And when you are taking a car, make observe, and when something goes wrong, just escape. Things like that. So it is a big problem right now, even in Malaysia. In the case of Wang Xing, my take is that the kidnappers didn't want the matter to blow up because this guy has prominence, right? The rest of the 300,000, they are expendable in that sense, right? Or the Chinese government or the Thai government don't think it's a big issue. But Wang Xing's prominence as an actor, plus the whole social media has worked out, and the Thai government acted on it very quickly. So Wang Xing, in a press conference after he was being rescued, came out smiling and said that, oh, actually Thailand is still very safe. Please, China tourists, please still come to Thailand. Everyone could see this through, that he was literally being coerced to say the same thing. And the Thai Prime Minister herself came out and make some comments and say that, Thailand is still a very safe place. Please don't think Thailand is very unsafe. Clearly, they don't want the Thai tourism to be affected. Guess what? Overnight, thousands of Chinese tourists have canceled trips in Thailand. They certainly didn't want this to happen, but it's already happening. You can't stop this, right? So these are my observations about this whole thing. A lot of people say, wow, Chinese are being oppressed by all the foreigners and things like that. Well, I just need to say this. If you look back at the history of Chinese, right, who killed the most Chinese or who destroyed the most Chinese life? It wasn't Japanese during World War II. It wasn't the Mongolians. The Mongolians killed a lot of Chinese. It wasn't the Manchus, okay, during the Qing dynasty. It certainly wasn't the Angmors that overrun the Summer Palace and as a result took control of Hong Kong. The most destructive force towards the Chinese are the Chinese themselves. In Mandarin, you say, 中国人害中国人最厉害. And it's a very, very shameful thing, okay? I'm not targeting Chinese for this, but I'm just raising a warning. Look at this entire operation. They're all run by Chinese bosses. At this juncture, I know for most Singaporeans, we think that the risk is very low, and it probably is for a few reasons. But I think Thailand is increasingly unsafe, especially for Chinese-speaking individual. I think very few Singaporeans will be called to work there for 2 reasons. Number one, I think Singaporeans' Mandarin is really very bad. We don't do very well as call center operators. The second thing is that I think the prominence of Singapore government to care for the Singaporeans is very high. I think the Chinese government cares very little about their own people. Now 300,000 has gone in, and still there's so little thing that's being done. But in all fairness to Chinese government and the Thai government, it is very difficult to resolve because it's now happening in Myanmar whereby there's no government in control, too far for the Chinese government to intervene. And I think it's kind of very difficult. The only hope right is for the Thai government to control the borders really very well, step up checks. Every vehicle, every sampan that sail across the river, and the river is only a few meters wide only. But I think this is something that is very serious right now. I think the Thailand economy is sure to be affected. Maybe Singapore and Malaysian economy will benefit because if the Chinese opt not to go to Thailand, they will come to Singapore and Malaysia. I would just suggest this from a point of being safe. There's so many places to tour. Avoid Thailand as a holiday destination for now. For some people say that, JB is also very dangerous. Yes, it's probably true in terms of petty crime, yes, pickpockets and so on. But in case of Thailand, it could be a matter of life and death, right? So I think we just need to be cognizant that this risk is now high and we just avoid it. So thank you for watching. Let me know your feedback on this. And if you know of anybody who has been scammed before, and this is certainly a very sad situation and I hope that the Thai government and the Chinese government could do something to rescue the 300,000 victims over there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye.